What if the next great NHL discovery doesn't come from a first-round pick, but from the depths of the development system, where sweat speaks louder than raw talent? What if, behind the scenes, the Toronto Maple Leafs are quietly shaping the future of their defense around a name almost no one saw coming? This is the kind of move that goes unnoticed by impatient eyes, but years from now could become the silent turning point of an entire franchise. The name is Blake Smith, and behind this seemingly discreet signing hides a story of legacy, patience, and long-term vision that might change the game in Toronto. In recent years, the Toronto Maple Leafs have been cultivating a pattern. Amid the pressure for championships, the weight of one of the most demanding fan bases in the NHL, and the critical eye of the Canadian media, the franchise has quietly been building an alternative, bold approach, attacking the undrafted free agent market, a territory often ignored, but one that has revealed hidden gems, a space where talent doesn't explode at 18, but matures with time, with resilience. In 2025, that mindset translated into a new name, wearing blue and white. A 6 feet 5 inches, 225-pound defenseman, an OHL veteran who didn't stand out early, but who evolved brutally over the last 12 months. Son of a former NHL player, nephew of the Primos, brother to an AHL warrior, Blake Smith is not just another name. He's heir to a tradition, and now a real bet by the Leafs. But before diving into this story full of hidden details, hit that like button if you enjoy deep NHL behind-the-scenes analysis. Subscribe to the channel and become part of our community. Here, you don't just get the news. You understand what's behind it. Blake Smith wasn't a star. For most of his OHL journey, he was seen as a physical, steady, but limited defenseman, a bottom pair player with no offensive shine, used in grinding, shutdown moments. In the 2023-24 season, he finished with just 2 goals and 13 points in 65 games. Nothing flashy, but something changed. In 2024-25, Smith broke out. He scored 10 goals, 32 points in 64 games. He didn't become Bobby, but he turned heads. The evolution was clear, especially to those who focus on what truly matters in the development of a modern defenseman: mobility, game reading, adaptability. And the Leafs were paying attention. They knew there was something valuable in that type of trajectory. The growth curve. Players like Smith don't peak early. They climb step by step, correcting flaws, adjusting their game. And when it all clicks, they can surprise even the most skeptical. That's exactly what happened with Brendan Dillon, who now has nearly 1,000 NHL games under his belt, and who, just like Smith, went undrafted. Dillon didn't look like much until his final WHL season, when he suddenly became a beast in offensive production. It was enough for the Dallas Stars to offer him a contract, and the rest is history. The Leafs know that story, and they're betting on a repeat. Behind the scenes, the logic is clear. Toronto needs defensive depth on controllable contracts. The salary cap, as always, is a challenge, and players like Smith are gold in that scenario. If they evolve, they become useful, reliable, and cheap assets. If they don't pan out, the cost is minimal. And Smith's debut for the Toronto Marlies this weekend was the first step in a long journey. But what exactly did the Leafs see in Blake Smith? First, his skating. And this is the key point. Smith is big, but he's not stiff. On the contrary, his four-way movement has drastically improved since entering the OHL. Today, he can retrieve pucks, close gaps, and move efficiently even under pressure. He's the type of defenseman who doesn't need to chase the play. He anticipates it. And at 6 feet 5 inches, his reach becomes an almost impenetrable wall in one-on-one situations. He positions himself, uses his body, and neutralizes. Simple as that. Next is offensive evolution. Smith is not a power play quarterback. He never will be. But in 2024-25, he showed he can actively contribute to transition play. His main weapon? Simplicity. He recovers a puck, looks up, and delivers smart, quick passes. His turnover rate dropped, his confidence rose, and his timing to join the rush improved noticeably. Analysts point out that a good portion of his points came from assists on plays he initiated by intercepting the puck and triggering clean transitions. For a depth defenseman, that's gold. And then comes the part that completes his profile: intelligence and competitiveness. Smith used to be known for chasing the puck too much, making rash decisions and poor positioning. But this season, something seemed to click. He began using his body, stick, and reach more effectively. He fixed his positioning, and that transformed his impact on the ice. He went from being a reactive defender to a proactive one. There are still flaws, of course. He can lose alignment during fast transitions, still get shaky under intense pressure. But the leap in tactical maturity is evident. And with that, the potential becomes visible. What does this signing mean for the Leafs? In the short term, maybe not much. Smith could spend time in the ECHL, adjusting his game to the pro pace. But in the midterm, he could be exactly what the Leafs need: a reliable, physical defenseman who blocks shots, clears the front of the net, and helps on the penalty kill. In other words, someone who plays dirty when needed. Someone who stands out in the ugly moments of the playoffs. And if Smith doesn't work out, no problem. His contract doesn't hurt the cap. But if he continues to grow, if that upward curve holds like we saw last season, the Leafs might just have themselves a Brendan Dillon 2.0. A defenseman no one saw coming, but who'll be there in April, May, and June, doing exactly what a championship team needs. Now I want to know, do you believe in bets like Blake Smith? Or do you think moves like this are just false hope? Drop your thoughts below. Your comment might be featured in our next video. And if Blake Smith represents a quiet future of the Leafs, Mitch Marner remains a loud present. A present filled with talent, pressure, and complex decisions. Because while Toronto shapes its defensive hopes with low-key pieces like Smith behind the scenes, Marner's name continues to be one of the most talked about, contested, and perhaps even uncomfortable names in the entire NHL. Before Mikko Rantanen was traded to the Dallas Stars in one of the most impactful deals of the season, the Hurricanes had a different plan, a bold one, requiring courage and near-perfect timing, trading Rantanen for Mitch Marner. The proposal surfaced in the shadows, but the revelation came to light thanks to the always reliable Elliotte Friedman. The Hurricanes initially asked for Mitch Marner in exchange for Rantanen. That alone was enough to make Toronto stop and listen. Because when a player like Rantanen enters a conversation, you listen. You have to listen. And that's exactly what the Maple Leafs did. According to Friedman, the Leafs approached Marner with respect, but also with clarity. They explained the situation, acknowledged his value, his legacy with the franchise, and at the same time, his key role in potentially balancing a trade of this magnitude. They asked him to consider waiving his no-movement clause. After all, Rantanen is one of the few players for whom the Leafs could justify trading Marner without losing immediate technical impact. But he declined, firmly, with conviction. He reaffirmed he wanted to stay, that he wanted to win there. That refusal was like drawing a line in the sand, a decision that said a lot about the player, but also a lot about the state of the franchise. Because if Mitch Marner doesn't want to leave, then it's Toronto that has to decide. Build around him once again, or find a different path this offseason. Marner is 28 years old. He's entering the final year of a 6-season contract worth over $10.9 million annually. His numbers don't lie. 21 goals and 79 points in 62 games. 6th in league scoring. Since 2021, he's the NHL's 8th highest scorer. And yet, his presence in Toronto always feels like it's under trial. Always at the center of criticism. Always the easy target when the Leafs fall short in the playoffs. It's a paradox. One of the best players in the league, and yet one of the most polarizing figures on the roster. After the 7-4 loss to the Avalanche, Marner was asked about the rumors, and his response was a mix of serenity and honesty. I'm here to play hockey with this team. I want to be with this team. I had a feeling something might happen, but I'm here. And when pressed about his future with the Leafs, I'm very grateful. I've loved my time as a Leaf. So this is where I stand with you. It's hard not to feel the weight behind those words. Marner speaks like someone who knows his stay doesn't depend solely on his own will. And that might be the most delicate part of this story. Because right now, Mitch Marner stands in the eye of an emotional storm. One that mixes loyalty, frustration, expectation, and fatigue. Toronto is at a crossroads. Management has already shown it's willing to consider major trades. And if Marner for Rantanen was a serious consideration, it's likely that more aggressive discussions will come, especially if the Leafs don't make a deep playoff run. Marner's refusal might have ended the conversation with the Hurricanes, but opened a new chapter, one of uncertainty. And no matter how much he expresses love for the team, the NHL is far too cold a place for romanticism to survive without wins. With each early elimination, with every loss series in April, the pressure builds. And Marner, brilliant as he is, sits directly at the center of it all. On the other hand, the Hurricanes' interest also reveals something essential: the value Marner still holds on the market. Carolina didn't offer just any trade. They offered Mikko Rantanen. That tells us that yes, there are teams willing to pay big for Mitch. And that completely shifts the game heading into the 2025 offseason. If he doesn't show signs of wanting to re-sign, and so far, there's no concrete indication that he will, the Leafs may need to act before he walks for nothing in 2026. Next time, the front office might not ask. They might just decide. And on this chessboard of million-dollar pieces, where talent is a high-risk currency, patience runs out fast. Marner's time in Toronto may be nearing its end. Not for lack of love, but for lack of results. And in the end, that's what defines everything in this league. Meanwhile, Rantanen is already in Dallas. The Hurricanes are left with a hole on their right wing. And the Leafs, with a star who still doesn't know if he'll be part of the next chapter, or just a ghost of what could have been. And now you, the fan, if you were in the GM's chair, would you have made the deal? Marner for Rantanen? Or do you still believe Mitch can lead Toronto to a championship? Drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because this story is far from over.